Hello, what's up everybody? Welcome back to my channel, Sketchcraft, where I am going to be showing you me drawing a sketch cover for Spawn Kills Every Spawn. This is a Spawn Kills Every Spawn sketch cover commission I did. I actually drew the series, all 5 issues. And on the first issue, I had this chibi spawn driving like this Violator truck, this monster truck. And one of the other, I did like 4 thumbnails for that cover, and one of them was him in a little mini version of like a hot rod version of the Spawn Mobile. So I had a friend who wanted to commission me for a sketch cover, and I thought it'd be fun to draw that layout, basically. So this was actually an unused layout I had for the first issue of Spawn Kills Every Spawn. So what you're seeing here is I did some digital lines first on my computer, kind of worked it out, and then I transferred it to a sketch cover, a blank sketch cover, by just tracing the lines on to the sketch cover. And I use Violatorville pencil to do that, which I like these little Violatorville poppy reds. They kind of an orangey warm color to it, which I like, but you can use pink, blue, whatever you prefer. And then now I'm going over this with a hot pink ballpoint pen. And this combination of the hot pink ballpoint pen over the warm, the poppy red Violatorville, to me gives it a nice warm kind of underpainting glow when you add color and stuff. So it's pretty basic. I just apply that across the whole cover, and surprisingly, these sketch covers are pretty nice to draw on. Actually, the material's pretty good. Here I'll just block in some of the shadows and stuff. You can see, like, this is going to jump a little bit. Just you'll see a bit, and then it'll jump in a bit, because I think overall I have to probably spent 4 hours on this cover, and I don't think anyone wants to sit through a 4-hour long chat with me drawing this. But here we go. There are chains on the Spawn Mobile, so that's always fun to draw. In the book, we turned the Spawn Mobile into like a big wheel. So again, super fun. And again, I like blocking out all the blacks with this Violatorville. And then you put the hot pink ballpoint, and then eventually you'll see me use a navy blue Polychromos for blacks. And this combination is nice because it gives you like a purple line, and it still leaves room to add a black line. So there you go. See? That's what the whole cover looks like. And here I've just sharpened a Polychromos, navy blue, and it adds like a purpley line. I can get it close to black if I want to. And then I can actually go in with ink or a black Polychromos, and that gives me an extra level of black. So you can just sort of build up layers. But the cool part about this is you get this purpleness, but I can keep some of the underglow. And that's the fun part of like painting when you have underpaintings, is if you know how to apply transparent inks over an underpainting, you can get this glow underneath, and I like that glow, that buildup of glow. It's why I don't do a lot of just straight ink, black and white ink drawing. If it doesn't have a glow underneath, it doesn't resonate with me. So this takes a little bit longer than just say doing straight up inks, but again, looks really nice in color, I think. And I cut my finger there, so you'll see me wearing a black glove off and on accident. It happens, folks, you know. I think I was packing supplies and nicked my finger. Yeah, so I added some yellows there to the reds, a little yellow undercolor. I have found when doing reds with color pencil or marker, it's best to put a yellow underneath them if you want them to be kind of brighter, because for whatever reason, red color pencils, red markers to me always dry dark. They don't have a glow, so they're not warm enough. So I just, anytime I want it red, I'll do like a little yellow marker or yellow, orangish yellow color pencil, kind of whatever I feel like. And it just makes it glow a little bit more. So this whole piece is going to be a combination of markers, color pencil, gouache, acrylic pens. This is full mixed media. Here I'm just using Copics. You can use whatever. The Ohuhu markers are pretty nice, but here I'm able to use 2 different kinds of reds, a cool and a warm. So the cape has one kind of red and his other stuff have different. But I think at the end, I just sort of, they sort of blend together. So it's not that important. You know, it's just kind of an experimentation to see if that it'll be noticeably different. I don't really think it was. But you can see that underglow, how I left in the front of the car right there. I left the pink showing through. Which, you know, just add some dynamics to the color. You can use a color pencil to blend and smoothen out the lines that markers leave down if you don't like marker lines, by the way. So if you're using markers and you're like, oh man, these leave marker strokes, which I kind of like, but some people don't, you don't have to spend a lot of time blending those. You can take color pencil, smooth it out. They'll glide right over it. And the cool part about doing the lines with that pink ballpoint is I can leave the pink, I can not go over the flames. I can just leave them pink, and then those flames have colored, you know, like a colored edge. You don't have black lines around your flames stuff. If you're into that, I don't like glows to have black lines around. I want, if he's doing like green ectoplasm, I want the lines to be dark green. So we've done a little quick jump. I've done a little purple undercolor where I'm going to make like his costume have like a purpley blue blackish. Spawn like has like it varies. Some people do it blue. Some people have it gray. I think in the comic I preferred gray over the blue. But when I color spawns, traditionally I kind of do like a combination of blues and purples and pinks. I like the way it looks. And I'm going to do all the shade on the white parts using a light blue. The shading over white can be a little tricky. You know, you can use gray, you can use blue, you can use purple. You want a cooler shadow. I tend to like blue a little bit more, and maybe purple. And I want these like speed lines on the wheels. So using color pencil is really nice because you can get a lot of little lines to give that feeling of the wheels, you know, are spinning. And I did learn one thing. Those chains on the back of the Spawnmobile, like on the toys and stuff, and the way I drew in the comic, they don't move with the wheel. They're fixated, but the wheel moves underneath it. Because if you try to move those chains, like with speed lines, and it's a lot more effort than it's worth putting in my opinion. So I'm just going to use some marker to darken up some of that. I'm hit or miss on my marker work. I've done markers for 20 years, you know. Sometimes I love it. Sometimes I just don't like the look of it. Kind of depends on the day. It does make things go by faster, especially for sketch commissions. If you get a bulkier work done with marker, you can do faster. But a lot of times, just out of creative, what do you call it? Creative preference or satisfaction, I do prefer color pencil. And now we're gonna do this. Now these smoke backgrounds, I had to go and do some tests with this to figure out how I wanted there's like these flamey, smoky backgrounds, like it's on fire. And I did have to do some tests to kind of figure out how to do a combination of this with marker and acrylic pen. I could just paint it now. I don't need to use acrylic pen. I bought a bunch of acrylic pens just to kind of see if it would be faster than, you know, doing acrylic wash or acrylic, matte acrylic or something. And it is faster. It is faster. But once you get used to using paints, it's kind of better just to do paints. But so I'll do this red, this maroon dark red wine smoke, and then I'm going to outline with the chrome orange. Because you want the core to be white hot, right? So it's got to go like orange to yellow to white. And then I'll use, I'll manually use color pencil, black color pencil to shade in the smoke. And then I'll use some acrylic pen to pop in little hot points. And I think it came out very effective. So you can go over a couple times here to get some darker values. Chromatic values, really. I just want this like searing hot flames behind his vehicle. And other than a couple tests, I mean, I've never really tried to color that before, but it came out looking pretty well. I think I got a lot of people asking me, what marker did you use to do that? I'm like, it's just Copic markers. I mean, you can do this with any marker, really, if you got a few colors. But I think the effect worked pretty nicely, so I'll be reusing that technique at some point. So on Sketchcover, it's always fun to have a way to do a background like that, because you can get a lot with very little if you can paint an explosion. So now I'm using Artx acrylic pens to do the background. I just wanted to do an opaque painted background for this, just because I initially did some painting tests, but painting around these logos with a brush proved to be troublesome. I didn't want the logos to be bothered, because this is a sketch cover, you know, and people like the sketch covers to be worth something. So the pen did help give me the base that I can get around all those little letters and stuff. And then I'll go over it and blend it and do some steps in gouache. But I wanted to stick to those 1992 Steecy Spawn colors, the pinks, the greens. I don't think Todd's as big a fan of these days. I think he likes it to be very serious, but I'm like, nah, man, let's go full 90s. Yeah, So this is, again, just an Artx pen. I bought a bunch of different ones. I have the Artx, I have Thule pens, I have Poscas. You know, these are pretty good for coverage. Like if I was at a convention having to do like faster sketch covers, you could get a lot of coverage with these. Not a bad place to go. Could have just as well done it with a pink Copic marker, but with an opaque pen, it allows you to kind of go over edges that aren't perfect, you know, opaquely, which is nice, and you can sort of tighten up shapes and stuff. And I kept the coloring on this all the way through. I didn't trim too much of it, just so you could see. And that's always the lid of the question with these speed paint walkthroughs, like what to trim, what not to trim. So I felt, hey, you know, I think it'd be cooler to see the whole background get done versus I start and then it stops. Just so you can see, like, getting around that logo. If you're using a brush, that is tedious. So these Artx pens are more forgiving for more tedious work like that. And if you're new to acrylic painting, it's not a bad place to start. I mean, you're not going to learn about color mixing, which you really need to know how to mix with color if you're going to be doing any kind of paints. But in terms of just getting an effective, fast result, you can't beat what you can get with these pens for the price. I don't think. So it's a good tool to have in your little mixed media arsenal kit, I think. And I'll put some affiliate links. I don't get paid by Artx or anyone, but I will put the links to the pens and stuff that I used, at least Amazon equivalents. And if you click that, you send in a few bucks my way, I can go get a boba. I do like me boba. Look at that. Nice and loud. We're done. No, we're not done. We're about halfway done. And you're gonna have to let that dry, by the way, folks. These pens do need to dry. So I did a little test with a darker purple I didn't like, and so now what I'm doing is I'm using a combination of a different type of, like, I think it's Strathmore pens, and I'm just using a brush to kind of blend it. But then I found my finger works pretty good, so I didn't need the brush. See? These are non-toxic. If you use an oil paint, you better be wearing gloves if you're going to do finger blending. But as you can see with acrylic or opaque paint or gouache, you know, you can blend really quickly while it's wet. Whereas markers are a real pain to get a smooth blend by themselves. And I didn't really do any tests on this. I just planned it out. You know, and the cool part about opaque pens or opaque paint, if it's not quite right, just let it dry and you can give it another shot. But I did want an underpaint. Even though I'm going to do some of this purple, I'm going to leave the pink in, but I'm going to do these purple to darker purple to a little bit of purpley blue colors. I did want some of that pink to show through, you know. So that's what's helpful about having underpaintings. Is you don't have to be perfectly clean with the coverage. You can have these little spots where the underpaint pops through, and it just gives you color variety. Now, I did have to do a lighter purple behind him value-wise because that pink is just too close to, hue-wise is too close to the color of his cape. So that was an adjustment I had to make. And it's not warping at all, really. Like, it's very minimal. So you might get a little bit of, you know, warblage, warblelogies. But you can just put a book on top of it for 24 hours and it'll flatten it out pretty good. This is oil pastel, Caran d'Ache oil pastels. Didn't intend on using these, but these do have a pretty cool coverage. And I wanted this kind of blue. And I didn't have like a bluish paint. This is why if you just use acrylic paint, you know, you can mix your own color and get whatever you want. But I didn't have any at the time. I just had this. Yeah, I like this blue right here. I wanted this to be a really, you know, a really pop-in color scheme. Something that I don't think would get approved on the actual book. You know, I think some people editorial would be like, it's a little garish. I'm like, that's the goal, you know. Let's go full. If you remember, like Samurai Jack had great color schemes. You know, sometimes they were hot pinks. It's good to do light neutral gray backgrounds, you know, no doubt. But every now and then, when the action gets intense, I like some bold color choices. And I knew I was going to do green splatter at the top. I was going to paint that in. So I wanted to make some of these stuff in the logo have some green in it too, just to kind of tie it all together. And I'm just doing some cleanup, just cleaning up some of them edges, you know, and yeah, which you can do with opaque paint. It's really nice. Now I can go back in and add some opaque red here on the inside of these flames. Makes it feel more alive already, right? Like, man, summertime. Looking forward to doing some cookout. A little bit of grill. And so now I'm going to do my black in the smoke with color pencil because smoke tech, you know, it's not completely opaque. It has some transparency. So rather than using pen or marker, this color pencil will give me the transparency I need. You know, these are Polychromos oil, you know, which I really like because they have their oil and they have, they're not like heavy oil like oil pastel. They're just smoother. They feel like butter. I really like them. But they're not crumbly. They're actually stiffer. Some people like that softer, crumbly color pencil. You might want to look at the Caran d'Ache Luminaires or Prismacolors. More of a wax. And here I can just I'm sort of just gauging how this is gonna like look. I did do a color comp, a digital color comp, but first to kind of give me a guide. But you can't really tell until, you know, you have to still look at what you're doing on the page and adjust as you go along. So I just realized I need a lighter value to pop out around Chibi there. He's getting lost in the pink. So this is actually a very light purple. It's not actually white. It's a very light purple. Some gouache. And I'm just keeping it pretty wet, pretty opaque. And with gouache, you kind of only want to put down gouache or acrylic gouache. You only want to put down, like, I use a water dropper, an eyedropper, so I put down 1 drop or 2 drops. You just want to turn it to cream, unless you're going with opaque glazing. But here I wanted it more opaque, and then just around him to pop it out. But I didn't want pure white, because if it's pure white, his little face mask design will blend in with the white too. So that would be bad. I'd be in the same position. From the pink to the white, I'd be in another round of trouble. And this is just that purple that I did before, but without any white. So I'm using that as like a little bit of, and I'm trying to have like a cloudiness, just so that I feel like there's some cloudiness in it. And you know, opaque painting is something I just started in the last few months. I've been wanting to do it for years, but projects keep coming up, and I have to kind of put that idea off to the side. But I'm in it now. I'm in it now. I just did my first still life. And, I just bought a glass plate for mixing because I think that'll be a little easier. And I can't wait to do more opaque painting with color pencil and watercolor. And mixed media is my jam. You know, whatever tool I need to get the job done. I don't give myself any bonus points because I did it all in one thing. If it needs this, we're going to do that. If it needs that, if it just needs color pencil, we'll just do color pencil. But I do love the look that gouache and acrylic gouache and matte acrylics give off, that matte look. I don't like the shiny. I like this matte chalkiness it leaves. I just really love it. Some people don't. Some people don't. But I can never stop looking at it, and it feels really nice. It feels great when you touch it. Ooh, it feels heavy. And this is me experimenting with blending. I'm just trying to see, do I use the brush? Do I use my finger? I don't know. So my whole thing now is I know I wanted a bit of like a white outline here and there to add little like strokes and energy lines. So I figure I'll go right to the white, and then I'll see where I need to adjust color-wise after I get all this Posca stuff put in. But this is something I actually learned doing licensed apparel t-shirts. You can do these like drawn strokes over things and pop things out, add some energy. Doesn't make much sense in the realm of like a comic book, right? When characters are moving frame to frame. But for still images, t-shirts, covers, sketch covers, it's nice. And so I just incorporate that. These little action outlines, whatever you want to call it. And I'm jumping between Posca and Tule pens. Tule pens are nice because you can get really thin. They have an extra fine tip. But these tips, they gunk up quickly. So you just want to buy extra tips. And you can buy third-party tips and get like a bag of like 100 for like $7. So it's not a big deal. But the minute the ink stops flowing or the paint stops flowing on these, you want to take the tip out and put it in a new one. It may not even look gunked up, but it actually is. And these little Tule lines let me keep these scribbles, you know, the scribble lines, which would be a kind of a pain to do with a liner brush, which is straight paint. You could still do it, but you'd have to really thin it down and get just the right mix. But it's just easier to do with the Tule pens, I think. And we're gonna do a little rim here, a little cream yellow rim. And that's the thing about color and paint, is just you want to build up background, you know, to foreground. Kind of adjust as you go. Will this be enough? I don't know. Yeah, let me know if you out there, you enjoy using pens or traditional paint. You're just going to see one of everything, you know, back there. Until I run out, and then I'll probably, I don't know, I'll probably keep a few of the pens in the rotation, and then just move straight to paint. Like this whole background, I could have just painted myself. I didn't need to do acrylic pen. These acrylic pens do dry very different. They're closer to gouache in that way, where they change in value. So now I could just mix my own paint with acrylic gouache or acrylic paint or matte acrylic and achieve the same thing. But I wanted to do these pens, so not just for experimentation, but also because what if I'm on the go, you know, and I don't want to bring a bunch of tubes with me. But these pens are bulky. It's actually easier to store paint, actually, if you can believe it. So it just depends on preference, you know. I think long term for myself though, I'll just stick to the traditional paints because it's just easier to get a hold of those materials. Who knows if these pen companies will be around in 5 years, you know. I mean, they can even Prismacolor now. Prismacolor is not even selling original colors. So you have to buy the bulks. Can't sell them individually. Not original, but individually. So I have this thing where he's like got the green spawn blood everywhere, and I thought rather than drawing it, I would just paint it in. So a year ago, I would have drawn this and colored it all in color pencil, and it probably would have took me twice as long. I'm like, it's just spawn blood, which is like green necroplasm goop. So I'll just paint over it. That's the great part about using opaque paint. You can paint right over the logo. You can paint over spots. You don't have to work your way around everything like you do with markers, or color pencil, or watercolor. And these are cooler greens with like a yellow core, and in the bottom I made more of a warmer olive green. So again, in basic color theory, you have warm colors and cool colors. You have warm reds and cool reds. Warm blues, cool blues. Warm greens, cool greens. So, and I'll be wrapping this up here in a second. Yeah, the background took a lot of speed lines. I could have done that faster by just painting it, but that's why it's important to constantly practice with different techniques and different media to figure out what works for you. This might work for me, it might not work for you. Or an element of this might work for you, and something else might work better for me. And it seems pretty basic to say, but sometimes we forget that. And that's it's almost done here, folks. If you have any comments or questions, please leave them below. Like and subscribe to the channel. If you want more of these videos, subscribe. If you just like the video, just like it. That's the best thing you can do. I will be having more soon, very soon. I got a bunch of commissions and stuff to do. So the goal is to get up one a week. That's the thing. Look at this. You can do a little splatter. Look at that. Those paint pens, you can just quickly put it on. I think eventually I put on another piece of paper and just add a little water and boosh. See? Get a lot of paint and splatter out of it. And also check out my website, sketchcraft.com. That's where you can buy original art, see my portfolio, join my newsletter, my stupid newsletter, and eventually pay for it. If you want to get a commission, we can put that up there too. And the slots open up. Sketchcraft.com. And go pre-order Spawn Kills Every Spawn, available in trade paperback this July from Amazon. I got an affiliate link below. So if you pre-order that, again, I'll get $1 or $2. I can go get a boba, maybe buy some new paints. That'd be super nice. And I really love the way this cover came out. I really do. It's exactly what I wanted. Peace.